So yesterday I made a video covering the allegations against the alleged Minecraft creep by the name of Zyph, right? In this video called Another Minecraft Predator Just Got Exposed, and Zyph has now responded. But to kind of catch you up on the situation, this account by the name of Zyph Allegations 2 over on Twitter put out this statement right here, which pretty much accused him of doing some pretty vile, nasty things with a 13-year-old who originally lied about her age, but then told him the real age and whatnot, leading to, Zyph pretty much getting canceled. It's one of those situations where, unfortunately, it's a Minecraft creator, so people kind of come to the idea that, yeah, he probably did it before, of course, anything was really proven. All we really had was a statement and like a few kind of things that can kind of collaborate the idea that these things did happen, to which Zyph actually came out with a statement saying, "These allegations are false. Here's my public statement," in a Google Doc, where he pretty much confirms most of these allegations. I don't know if he meant to, but he did. And let's just read it. "These allegations are false. I have spent over half of my life creating a community built on the foundations of joy and laughter, and having these things being twisted to villainize me and turn my community, friends, and other content creators against me hurts a lot. I am writing this to make it clear who I am as a person, what I have always stood for, and what my morals and beliefs are above all else. I was asked for the truth, so here it is. When I am reached out to by active community members, long-term viewers, friends, family members, and other creators to hear what I have to say, I appreciate it more than you know. I also know that most of the reasons you are reaching out is because these allegations don't reflect our interactions within my community or yours at all. Whether in person or online, this villain they are creating is not who I have ever been, which makes this whole situation more confusing for all of you that know of my morals and who I am as a person and what I believe in." So basically saying some of his friends and family and whatnot have reached out asking about these allegations because, according to him, this is not the way that he is. He's not a creep. He doesn't, portray himself as a creep or a predator of any way, and people have reached out to him to kind of clarify that. I reached out to him. He didn't reply, but at least he put out a statement. "It really disappoints me that in recent times, if someone types up a document with incorrect information to tell a story to tear someone down who has done nothing but build everyone and everything up around them within their community, that people will take that information as truth without waiting to hear all of the information, and that most people operate on a guilty until proven innocent mindset that is not fair or just to those accused." And I think that's pretty fair. When I made my video covering the original initial allegations, I didn't want to say this guy was a creep. I think that if the allegations that were being presented were true, he was a creep. But I also wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that, this could be completely made up. I didn't think there was enough evidence or like screenshots or real proof to collaborate everything being told. But unfortunately, his statement here, I read it before recording this, kind of do elaborate and corroborate some of the things that we looked into. There are a lot of things that need to be said, so let's begin. Before 2017, most of my video thumbnails are 3D characters with big text on the screen saying the name of the game I was playing for video. Near the beginning of 2017, I started changing my video thumbnails to incorporate fan art or drawings from artists in the community to represent what happened in the videos more specifically. My first interactions with her were from fan art submissions from these videos. Her is referring to, the girl who put out the allegations. Throughout the course of the next few months, her art and others were used and credited for each video as they were published. In messages talking about thumbnails or art projects that she was working on during the time, she mentioned that her birthday had just happened in April and said that she was 16 years old. I was 18 at the time. Now, personally, I feel like he could have collaborated this with like a screenshot or something. Again, screenshots go a long way. Some people are just going to see this huge wall of text, a huge document of just hearsay and not really care. Personally, I think screenshots and messages kind of go a long way in a situation like this. In July of 2017, she took over as the main artist to create hand-drawn thumbnails for videos, with occasional videos having art from other artists whenever she wasn't available. I encouraged her to treat her art as a business and taught her how to invoice for her work to myself and other creators for her art products. She continued to work on video thumbnails off and on until April of 2018, when she was featured in a group recording session for a video for the first time. When talking after the recording, she told me that she was being bullied in school and wanted an outside opinion on what she should do. I encouraged her to use her artwork as a hobby and expression of emotions. In May of 2018, while talking after recording for the channel, she asked me out. I had no knowledge of her lies about her age, as I believed she was 17 and I was 19 at the time. Now, again, some people can argue 17 and 19 is like just as bad as, 15 and 20 or something. I think, personally, I don't think that's too horrible. I think, of course, you should definitely date people who are 18 and up if you are 18 and up. But, things like this happen. 17 and 19, that's high school age. That's, college freshman age, honestly. From my perspective, we had communicated consistently for over a year while working on projects or videos together. We had similar gaming interests, and in most of our interactions up to this point, she had been extremely friendly, entertaining in videos, fun to be around, and valued my opinion, so I said yes. In June of 2018, I attended VidCon in California with friends and other creators. She and her family traveled to California and stayed in a separate house to attend the convention. After the convention was over, she and her family invited me to join them for dinner, and while at dinner, they invited me on a road trip as they were from the east coast of the country and wanted to see the giant redwood trees on the west coast. So we have now the family involved in this situation. We have a family who knew this guy was 19, 20, and she was 13, 14. Kind of rough. On this trip, it was her mom, her dad, her older sister, her older cousin, and me. She was taller than her older sister, and both her sister, and her cousin looked within 2 to 3 years of age to one another. No one in her family corrected the story of her talking about her age before, during, or after this trip, or talking about past trips she had gone when she was a younger teen, where they would often add on to the stories about those trips, and neither her parents nor her other relatives corrected her at all. I was welcomed into their family vacation as if nothing was wrong. I slept on the couch in the living room, and each of them had their own room. While on the trip, we played games, ate meals, watched shows, laughed, went to Big Sur State Park, where we explored and hiked across the park and talked about where we were going to go next as a group, because it was genuinely a fun trip and I felt welcomed by all of them and had no idea any of the lies that are being told right in front of me. Right, so we have this situation where this guy's clearly an adult, this girl's clearly a kid, and the parents are not stopping it, right? Again, I'm not defending him. I think you shouldn't date someone that young. But the parents are almost in a way kind of like egging it on, encouraging it, allowing this relationship to be a thing when they should stop it. They should have not allowed this, whenever she found out, when the mom and dad found out that this relationship, this interaction with an online creator was going far beyond just thumbnails and art, it should have been nipped in the bud, In July of 2018, after the trip was over, we continued to play online games, create YouTube videos, and call regularly with one another. Often in the background of these calls, her parents would walk up to say hello, occasionally tell a story of her when she was younger, reinforce stories or references she would make about growing up or her past, and encourage us to continue talking regularly with one another, as they could tell when we talked it made her a genuinely happier person. So again, the parents encouraged this relationship. They had no issue with it, which is weird. Again, if we're going to consider that Zyph is like a bad person here, a horrible, creepy monster, I think the parents definitely have some sort of blame in this situation as well. In August of 2018, I traveled across the country to Connecticut to visit her at her family's home. While on the trip, her and her family reinforced her age story and timeline and discussions together while cooking and eating meals together. So once again, elaborating, continuing this narrative that she is old enough for that relationship. They gave examples of her working and helping at an animal rescue center alongside her mom in previous years while she wasn't in school over the summer. This reinforced my belief that she was old enough to have a job for a few years. Whenever a major holiday or birthday happened, we would send each other gifts. She would often create art or paint my character to use as background art in my videos. I ordered and made her custom plushies of her character and various gifts related to her gaming interests. This was mine and her first relationship, and was about companionship, enjoying time together and playing games online together with my friends. I was never there or invited in person during her birthday, and would only hear from her after family celebrations, which I later would find out is because she had lied about her actual age the entire time. And that's we are now at the rising action, my friends. We're almost to the climax of this story. In November of 2018, I traveled to Connecticut to visit her and her family for the Thanksgiving holiday. Throughout the trip, her family took me to places around her hometown to get to know her and her family better. We went to a local market where they often got their food and groceries to cook meals throughout the trip. On Thanksgiving Day, they took me to her grandparents' house to meet her extended family and share a Thanksgiving dinner together. There were a lot of her cousins, aunts, uncles, parents, and grandparents, and a few of her friends and significant others as well. Her family talked about how talented she was at art and reinforced her various stories about her age and her search for applying for colleges. Her grandparents and other family members asked me a lot of questions about YouTube and how I created videos and how that earned revenue, so I was able to travel to meet all of them for Thanksgiving. So this is crazy. Like, the grandparents, friends, other family members are now in on this like elaborate lie that, Zyph is saying, is alleging happened. Again, nothing is backed up by videos or screenshots or anything. Same thing happened with the girl accusing him. Nothing is backed up. All of this is hearsay. It's one story to another story to another story. But we have the whole family tree lineage is helping this girl, lie to this adult man about this relationship. From what I could tell from these conversations and various board games we played after dinner was an attempt at her family members getting to know me and trying to make a connection with me, as I had just met most of them that day. Throughout the trip, she would talk about applying to various colleges and universities and wanted to stay close to home and attend a community college for the first few years to study art and save money. While on the trip, we even stopped by one of these college campuses and walked around a bit to show that they had been considering having her go there for school. Then she would talk about how she could possibly attend college on the East Coast or in New York or somewhere in Florida to potentially work with Disney from her degree, having an emphasis on costume creation using her art skills. She discussed plans of this being after her graduation with her parents and wanted to let me know how I would fit into those plans as I was currently in college on the other side of my country in Arizona. She even suggested that by the time I was done with my college degree that I could move nearby to wherever she went to college to spend more time with one another. During this Thanksgiving trip, I stayed downstairs on the first floor of a couch in her office as that door normally stayed closed. She had a few pets at the time, including 2 cats that tended to wander around inside and outside as they pleased. Her and her family had vacuumed and cleaned most of the cat hair out of the room before I got there, as I'm allergic to cats and would often be coughing or sneezing if I spent too much time near them and the rest of the house. Both her and her parents' room were upstairs on the second floor. Throughout the rest of the trip, she and her family shared stories of her changing schools because of bullying and applying to schools that allowed more emphasis on art. She would often share that she was behind on her schoolwork. While eating breakfast one morning, she got into a very heated and emotional argument with her mom about needing to leave the house to work on classwork at school while I was visiting, and she would refuse to leave my side as the classes were not necessary for graduation. We've all been kids. We've all done that where we're like, it's just art. Who cares? Focus on your schools, my friends. Her parents often commented during meals and various conversations that they liked when I was visiting in person or online talking with her as they argued with her less and she was a happier person. So this is one of the few times I saw a heated argument play out in person and not on the phone. So what I'm picking up is that like the parents, while I still think are pretty bad for allowing this to happen, used him in a way to make their daughter happier, right? Very interesting. Very interesting. Throughout the time I had known her, there were times when she would be offline for a few days or even a week, and she often gave reasons and excuses for her absence afterwards. She would say she was traveling for a vacation, if there was a power outage or hardware or computer failure, with zero contact on any platform during or ahead of time, which confused me. There were also more stories about her getting emotionally upset, more and more often as time went on. Usually intertwined into this story was a random out of context comment about her age with no clarification or explanation as to what she meant or how it was connected to her story when I would ask what she meant. Many months later, I found out that a lot of these reasons she would disappear were due to arguments with her parents about the lies she created about her age, and a few various hospitalizations around emotional instability, and her lying to others consistently and her attempting to self-harm and being potentially, you know, sue us, I'm not saying the word, on reflection of what she had been doing or lying about. There was one instance where she had thrown her keyboard and knocked her monitor onto the floor, causing it to break so she couldn't be online for a while until it was paid for and replaced. But I didn't know any of this at the time. I also found out later that she had created private accounts and places that she would draw NSFW art of her and my characters in provocative and explicit positions, and had been doing so randomly over the course of several months. When I found out, I asked her to stop posting and creating that art as it makes me uncomfortable. It was done so without my permission or knowledge. She slowly reduced how often she posted that content, but did not fully stop after I asked. So that's a little weird. In March of 2019, I traveled to Connecticut to visit her and her family. She and her mom took me to the animal rescue center that her and her mom had talked about working at in previous summers. While on this trip, her dad took me and her to Boston for most of the PAX East 2019, and then to New York for a Minecraft event that was happening there with other Minecraft creators. And after the event was over, we all went and got a meal together, and then her dad took me and her back to her home in Connecticut. I am a morning person, so I often went to bed earlier than everyone else, and as I woke up earlier than everyone else to work on organizing videos on my laptop. So after I had adjusted to the 2 to 3 hour time zone difference, I would go to the same couch that I stayed on during the Thanksgiving trip on the first floor of the house and watch a YouTube video or part of a movie and fall asleep. On multiple occasions during this trip, I would be woken up by her trying to lie with me while I was sleeping. On multiple occasions, she asked me or attempted to have you know what, in which I replied no. My entire life I had been surrounded by a Christian family and never wanted to be involved or take part in that before marriage. This was always been my viewpoint, and this was my first relationship in my entire life. So being able to stand on my beliefs and saying no in that situation is very important to me and my foundation and morals as a person. I had talked to her parents about my beliefs during past trips. After I said no, I talked to her parents about it during this trip as it made me uncomfortable. So to be accused of this after that being my stance on the entire interaction is unfair and extremely hurtful. Now, this is a very important part of these allegations of this doc because that was one of the main points of the original allegations was that she was accusing him of SA. And while I do think that you can still be a creep, you can still be a groomer, you can still be, a P word if you are an adult dating a child, I think it is very important to include that information that there was no, explicit interaction with these people, at least according to him. So again, still creepy that he was in this relationship, but there was no, that relationship. At the beginning of April 2019, I got a phone call from her crying with her parents in the background telling her to tell him the truth. This story needs to stop right now. So through tears, she said on a phone call that she was turning 14 years old later that month and not 18 years old as she had said previously. And that she had been lying about her online age to all her friends, including me, since before I had ever met her. I was in shock that our entire friendship and relationship had been built on a lie that had been supported and fabricated by her entire family for years to keep her emotionally stable and alive. After she said it, she started screaming and crying so loud that the moment the phone speaker would cut out, it was very hard to understand what she was saying afterwards. I was shocked, confused, and concerned about her emotional state. Hours of stories, timelines of events, and what I had been told by everyone around her on separate trips to different places was all a lie. I didn't know what to do at that moment and felt betrayed. To this day, I still have extreme trust issues and paranoia about being lied to with most people, friends, and family because of this entire interaction with her and her family over this time spent interacting with one another. Now, this is interesting. I mean, he essentially got catfished. Like, it might have been the person he was looking at and seeing and talking to every day for years, but it was not, legally, it was not the same person. Age-wise, it was not the same person. He was dating and being in a relationship with a child. Over the course of the next few months, I didn't know what to do to be able to break up without her potentially harming herself. Her interactions were built upon a lie and betrayed my trust on so many different levels, but I still cared about her well-being because I have a heart. I intentionally and consistently encouraged her to do things with her new friends at her new school and chose to focus on art. I encouraged her to be busy with activities outside of interacting with me all the time. So right here, he kind of confirms that allegation that when the real age came out, he continued this relationship. Bad. Very bad. At this point, he was in trouble, right? He was in trouble, but he could have saved it. He could have posted a statement online and said, like, hey, I was in this relationship. She lied, and here's what I have. Here's my story. And he might have saved it, but he continued the relationship knowing the real age now. Out of sympathy, you know, he didn't want her to hurt herself or whatnot, but now you are a criminal. I mean, there's no real other way to say it. He is a, you know, because he decided to pursue and keep this relationship going. Although there was no, again, there was no explicit interactions in that way, he still was in this relationship with this girl. In July of 2019, her parents, with the insistence of her, suggested that they come to visit me while I was in Arizona at an apartment taking college classes. I was still concerned about her emotional state if I didn't agree, and was reassured by her parents that her dad would be there to watch her and make sure everything was okay. I thought they would be staying at a hotel during the trip. However, to save money, they both stayed in the living room of my apartment. My apartment had 3 rooms, my office, my room, and the kitchen and living room area with a fold-out couch and blow-up mattress. During the trip, we had tried to do activities that were fun and lighthearted and not uncomfortable or stressful for any of us. I took her and her dad to see some of my favorite restaurants around town. We went to a comedy show, an arcade to play games as a group, and completed an escape room. After these various activities on different days, we would come back to our apartment. I would work on YouTube videos and schoolwork as my college had year-round classes, and I was trying to graduate early to be able to focus on YouTube full time. During this trip, there were a few times where her dad would go get food or coffee or go on a hike very early in the morning before I woke up, as that's one of his hobbies he does on trips. The first time he wasn't there, I woke up to her moving her blow-up mattress into my room as my apartment didn't have any locks on the bedroom or office doors. I moved the mattress back to the living room after waking up and continued working on videos and schoolwork, and mentioned it to her dad when he returned. On another day, I woke up to her snuggling against me or asking to have that explicit thing again. Once again, I said no. I was even more shocked that when she had asked me on the last trip, because she and her family had already told me about her lying about her age at this point. So again, I mean, it's weird. A child is dumb, of course. We've all been children. We've all been dumb. But this girl definitely has a... how can I say this? She's also doing predatory behavior. He's said no already, right, before, and she's still continuing to do it, and he said no once more. Not a good look. At this point in the trip, I felt very uncomfortable, and I felt like my safe place where I lived and did my schoolwork and job wasn't safe anymore. At a restaurant near the end of their trip, she argued with her dad in public while trying to extend the trip to be longer. She was crying, raising her voice, banging on the table, and causing a scene in the restaurant. Her dad did not give in or change the length of the trip, and they left back to the East Coast at the originally planned time. After they left, I called my mom to tell her about the trip and get her advice on how to back away from the relationship, as I didn't know what to do and had never been in a relationship before. I told them about how when they visited, she was irrational both nearby and away from her dad, that she often made ending her life innuendos about what she would do to herself if I left her. She often had a dark sense of humor and made dark ending her life comments when losing a game or missing a deadline for school or a thumbnail for a video. Things like, oh, I will end myself. She talked about hurting herself and that she knew where dad hid all the big knives in the kitchen, as he had removed them after her first hospitalization. She would often talk about her friends needing help, being talked off the ledge, and who would do it for me if you're not here. I continued to encourage her to do things at her new school and be busy with activities outside of interacting with me. I became busier with working on schoolwork and videos not related to her, and purposely reduced the amount of time I was available to provide a gradual separation to not trigger an emotional response from her. Over the next several weeks, this continued to provide more separation, so he basically just slowly started to cut her off. Again, he was in this relationship. They were still boyfriend and girlfriend, but he was trying to get out of it. I still think he should have ended this long ago. That meetup where she came to his apartment with the dad should not have even happened. This should have been over. In September of 2019, I called her while she was in the car with her mom. I let her know that we needed to break up because of differences in age, different life experiences, different goals for the future, and growing apart from one another, as it was healthier for both of us in the long term to have a relationship built on truth and trust instead of lies. While I was talking and saying these things, she was yelling and crying over top of what I was saying to say, please don't leave me. And I would say more, and she would say, please don't cut me out of your life. And I would continue explaining, and she said, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And then her mom told her that she needed to respect my feelings too, and was eventually able to calm her down at the end of the call. After this, I focused on making YouTube videos and have not had any other relationship since, due to the trust issues that this has created in my life for being lied to her, her family, and all those around that knew her actual age, and fabrication of the stories. Later, after we stopped interacting with one another, she asked me to remove any YouTube videos that had her involved or part of the content. These were hours and hours of edited footage that I edited or had paid editors to create, and most of them had thumbnails that I had commissioned from her to make as well. As soon as she asked, I took down all the posts she was a part of so that she would be able to move on and not answer questions about her past to any old, current, or future viewers of my content. She also said that she was okay with me still uploading videos and keeping my YouTube channel. I would hope so. I mean, it's your channel, buddy. She just did not want to be connected to the community or content going forward so that she would not have to answer any questions. She privatized her channel and focused on her various art passions and businesses. This whole situation's interesting too because she recently came out with these allegations. She gave a statement to someone who went onto that Zyph allegations to Twitter account to post them on her behalf, and she pulled the same thing where she's like, I don't want to be asked, yet she's the one who made the initial allegations and statement. Soon after all of this was over, I started creating daily videos and grew my channel to what it is today. YouTube and an online social media presence has a lot of ups and downs and is extremely stressful for a multitude of reasons, but it is a community I have created built upon joy and laughter for well over half of my life. So all of this has to be said to not only let the truth be known, but to make sure that none of you feel confused about who I am as a person or what my morals and beliefs are. I am disappointed that all of this must be said. It was originally not talked about to protect her and her emotional state and well-being. That was her request and is the same reason why I've referred to her as she and her in this document. The internet is a place where messages or pictures can be taken out of context and people will villainize you based upon something they know nothing about. To all of you that have reached out to hear what I have to say, here is the answer to all your questions. Thank you for taking the time to read all of this, and I will continue making content when I am ready and able to share my joy and happiness again with all of you. Yeah, there is the statement. Holy smokes, it has been a year of long documents and statements and allegations. I think that he should have ended this once he realized the true age of this person. If she threatened to end everything, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in. It truly is horrible to have people use those types of threats against you because it's going through your head. I don't want to be responsible for someone taking their own life and whatnot. But again, do you want to also be a predator? At some point, you have to put your foot down. And that point should have been the day you found out the truth. And you should have put a statement out online saying everything. People still would have been upset with you. You'd still probably be labeled a predator and whatnot. But at this point, there's no real coming back. While it's good that, they didn't explicitly engage in lovey-dovey interactions, he still admitted to having a relationship with someone that age while he was in his, 19, 20 years old. And for that, I can't really defend him. What I can do is say that claiming SA after all of this was not a good look on her part, but that relationship was, this whole thing is just a headache. The parents' involvement in it, allowing it to get this far, is a lot. It's not one of those situations where it's open and shut. I think it's something that is going to be kind of a moral thing. It's like, do you think that he's horrible? Do you think that he's a P word? I think he's a creep. Okay. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Does this statement of his like answer everything? I don't think it answers everything, but I also don't think that her statement was like 100% proof that this guy is like a disgusting monster either. But that relationship should not have happened or have lasted that long. The end.